Hi, boys and girls. I hope your day is going well. I hope you're jumping into your worship time and you're enjoying that. There's some good songs there that you can respond. You can think about the words, think about God, pray to Him. I hope you're able to have some time to pray to God as well. I hope you're really enjoying your worship and thinking about the beauty of God's love and care, that He sees you and knows you even as you worship together. That's amazing. I love that. What is one of the things that, and here's my question for today as we move into the book of Joel a little farther, what is one of the things that happens to you sometimes or has happened to you in your life that has been a surprise, but not a nice surprise? Ever had those things that happen to you that are a surprise, but not a nice surprise? It's kind of like when you come into your bedroom in the dark, or you go down the hallway in the dark and you stub your toe on something. Oh, that's a surprise. It's not a nice surprise. What do you do in those kind of moments? Yeah, I just had something happen to our place just this past week, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Right in the middle of a beautiful sunshiny day, there's this big tree. It's about this big around outside of my house. It has all these limbs, these great big limbs, it's about that big, these limbs that come out of it. Of this tree, out in the middle of a beautiful sunshiny day. I was in my office. I had some kids in the living room. Right outside the living room window, there was a big crack, and the whole branch fell down, and it hit the power line with all the electricity in it, hit that and drove it right to the ground. And then there's a pole that holds the electrical line, and it banged right across my car. I was shocked, not literally, thankfully, but I was so surprised. What do you do when things like that happen? Where do you turn? Do you just say, well, that's just some weird, random thing that happens? As believers, as Christians, we have to recognize that God knows and sees and actually has control of everything that could happen to us in our lives. And these things that happen to us in our lives they do two things for us. One of the things they do is they remind us that our world is not perfect, that we're not living in heaven right now. We're not living in a perfect world. The world has been cursed by sin. It is marked by sin. It does not function the way God had designed it to function because sin has interrupted that function. And then that also reminds us that we can trust God, that God is bigger even than the tree that falls down in my yard and the big pole that hits the car. That even in the middle of those things, God works out His plans and purposes. And so we can trust God. Even in the middle of things that we don't know why they happen, they surprise us when they do happen, it still allows us to know that we can trust God. Joel uses the word of, this is the day of the Lord. Alas, this is the day. This is the day of the Lord, he says. And he's talking about like the locusts. Remember those from last week? He's talking about the locusts who came in and devoured everything. And he calls that a day that the Lord is planned and working through. So if Joel can say God has a plan and purpose that He's working through, even when the locusts come to devour all of the food and everything, I can rest assured God has a plan and purpose for the things that surprise me in my life as well. And even now, in this time, when there's a global pandemic, we can trust God has purposes and plans. One of those purposes and plans is always that we will turn to Him for our saving, that we'll turn to Him to ask Him for His will and His work to be worked out in our lives. So, as we continue our worship, I want to ask you to do this. When you're done listening to the sermon, stop, pray, close your eyes and pray, and say, God, thank you that your work and will is worked out even when I am surprised by what is happening, even when things don't seem to go my way, your work and will is being worked out. Help me to trust you in that. Take some time and pray that out today as you continue your worship. And then enjoy the rest of your worship time. See you later, boys and girls.